DJ LeRoy.
Night Watchman, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, man. So, Night Watchman, this new year.
Yep.
Well, we ready. Are we also ready to discuss some of the changes that we've seen in the cannabis space?
That's why we brought our panel of experts to tell us about it, because I can't keep up with it myself.
Oh, wow. You say it's that many. As a matter of fact, I saw something. Bob Emmett sent me something about some stuff happening in Oklahoma, man.
We don't care about Oklahoma.
Okay,
we're
fine.
New Yorkers. Come on, man.
All right. Then let's get it popping. What?
I mean, on a global basis, yeah, we want them to have something, but we trying to figure out what's going on in our backyards. So.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? Then let's have some of these returning guests. What about my man? Can you say, and like I said, we have to get him a jacket branded with Soul Live Primetime, Damian Fagon. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
What's up, boss?
Good morning. How we doing?
Good, man. Good. So as you know, I hear this dude, Archer, he sometimes roasts you because are you an Upper East Sider, man?
I am an Upper East Side.
And just check it. Are there dispensaries on the Upper East Side?
Yeah, there's too many according to the people on the Upper East Side. Okay. There's like a dozen licensed dispensaries over here now.
Wow. Night Watchman, did you know this?
Yes, I've been to some of them. Yes.
Oh God, kind of figured.
Some of them, Curtis, on the Upper East Side are Black owned. It's beautiful.
Oh, that is a beautiful thing. I did not know that part. Okay. Well, you know what? What about another returning guest? What about Mr. Joe Green? Joe, what's up, boss?
How we feeling today?
Good, my brother. Good. All right.
And this is a nice Joe Green, not mean Joe Green.
Oh, well, in the cannabis industry, I've taken on that nickname, Me Joe Green, if I got to be mean.
Okay.
I like it.
Oh, beautiful. Night Watchman, on deck, of course, we have first time ever, and we talking about, of course, Gotham Bud's partner there, Omar. Yes. What's up, boss?
Good morning.
What's going on?
Morning, team. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good, man. Good. Welcome to Soul Live's Primetime, man.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be here, sir.
Absolutely. And Night Watchman, what other? Here it goes. What about Daniel Gonzales? Bring him out. Yes. Daniel.
Welcome.
What's going on, gentlemen?
All right. How you doing, buddy?
I can't complain. Nobody's listening anyway.
Hold on. Daniel, I promise I would actually listen to you. I promise I would. Okay. But having said that, let's back him out. And let's start off with Damian Fagon. Damian, tell us some of the developments that you've seen in the space, man. Talk to us. All right.
Man, the last few months, New York is obviously always on my mind, but there've been a lot of cannabis developments elsewhere. So I also work kind of internationally now on cannabis policy, and so I had the pleasure of going to Brazil last October, November. To talk cannabis legalization with the Brazilians and an international delegation. So I've been back and forth. There's been developments in Virginia. Virginia's getting ready to legalize. Been working a lot on that with advocates in Richmond. I think increasingly what it's been looking like for cannabis is taking what's happening in New York, figuring out what's working, what's not, and exporting it to the rest of the world. That is always kind of been the genesis of cannabis legalization in New York. We were piloting something new, but also refining the strategy that other countries and other states could use as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Damian. Next.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
While we got Damian, I just want to ask you quickly, what do you think were the wins and what do you think are the things that we still need to have happen in New York? Just looking back, over the last, it's been a long road. 10 years ago, we were still dealing with stop and frisk, and we've come a long way. But from your perspective, what do you think were the biggest achievements, and what do you think are the biggest things that we still have to deal with?
I mean, the biggest achievement off the bat are the number of small businesses generating revenue in the state of New York. In 2025, New York State sold about $2 billion worth of legal product. That translated to about $280 million in new state and local tax revenue.
Wow, that's a large number, buddy. Go ahead.
Large number. If we all recall, the MRTA is very explicit. It says that 40% of that tax revenue needs to be reinvested into communities over-policed. If we take 40% of the 300 million after they pay off their overhead at the agency, we're looking at $70-80 million earned last year for those communities, and that number is only going up. So I think that just the size and the scale of the market, New York State is now the biggest cannabis market by retail dispensaries on the East Coast.
Wow.
I think we'll pass Michigan this year, number of dispensaries. And when we do that, it's just California. It's just us and California, the two biggest markets in the country. And so, within 3.5 years since the MRTA has been signed and businesses have opened, we've got a sprawling small business, multi-billion-dollar economy. So that's the thing that's working. The market's growing. I think the thing that is struggling is the state's ability to regulate it.
Gotcha.
And oversee it and enforce the rules and ensure people are playing fairly. Competition is fair between a small business and a large business.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of oversight that the state still needs to step into that it hasn't yet.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Joe Green, over this past year, what developments have you seen, man?
I'm one of those that likes to run right into the fire if there is a fire. So, I've been consulting for all facets of the business. Previously, with my time with Cannabis NYC, just because New York City has a number of retail dispensaries, it kind of blinded my eyes to other facets of the market, whether or not it be cultivation, whether or not it be processing, or even distribution. And one of the pain points that I have seen, over the last 6 months of consulting full time is just some of the organizational lapses that some of these retailers are having to deal with and how it affects everyone in the supply chain. If retailers are having a slow month or too many stores are opening up nearby them, subsequently now the distributor's not getting paid, which means the processor's not getting paid, which means the farmer who's actually growing the cannabis isn't getting paid. So really just trying to get to the root of some of these problems and trying to offer technical assistance in real time, especially to a lot of licensees that look like me, just because you have so many consultants who, are offering unique value propositions at such a high cost, but not really delivering on those deliverables.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. And you know what, Omar, you heard earlier in terms of Damian, of course, being on the Upper East Side. However, with that, I have to say, and you also notice, can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay.
We just can't see you.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. What happened to my camera? Okay. There it goes. Maybe this will help here. But
Okay.
That didn't help at all.
That didn't help at all.
I mean, in the end, that was the most unhelpful thing he pressed.
Okay, there it goes. I mean, Omar,
good to have you back. Good to
thank
have
you,
you
my
back.
brother. I was in the abyss. So now remember,
You're still in the abyss, but at least
the
it
main
doesn't look
commercial corridor, farmers in Harlem or Northern Manhattan is on the street. What has Gotham Buds? Have you guys benefited or still a little struggle? Tell me about you guys the past year.
Gotham Buds is very fortunate to be where it is. It's very fortunate to be in the community that it's in, and it's done very well in comparison to many dispensaries that are out there in the rest of New York State.
Okay. And any changes? Are you affected by some of this direct legislation, especially I would say even some of the chaos that has occurred through the Office of Cannabis Management, or are you guys immune from that?
I think we have been some of the most fortunate, specifically because two of the gentlemen that are on this panel right now, Mr. Damian Fagon went out of his way to make sure that Harlem was supported through its beginning stages to get to opening. He and his colleagues did everything they could to help us and be a source of information and solutions for us. We were speaking at least 3 times a week at one
Wow.
point or another.
Mhm.
And then shortly thereafter, Mr. Joe Green and I started to speak at least once, twice a week for quite some time. So I feel like we've had a lot of people interested in helping us out, people interested in making sure we weren't overlooked and that we didn't miss any opportunities that we deserve. I am blessed and lucky to say that that's our reality.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Omar. And Daniel, please, I want you to give an overview of your organization and definitely the lane in which you guys exist. Daniel, tell us about the organization.
Well, the Cannabis, New York State Cannabis Association, Minority Women Professionals, we have a lot of grassroots people that are involved and that felt that they were left out.
Mm-hmm.
When the martial laws came into effect, the counsel to the governor at the time, Kamiki Gibson, asked us to look at the equity part of it, and where the minority community fits, people who have been arrested for cannabis over the last couple of decades and have been kicked around by law enforcement and just for some flowers. And we've been trying to educate people that this is the way we need to go, the legal way. It was tough in the beginning. The black market was kind of like difficult to let go, but slowly and people started to fall in line. And I'm glad to see that a lot more people who have been affected by the cannabis prohibition over the last couple of decades have applied and gotten their license. I kind of like go back and forth all the time. And by the way, how's Axel Barnaby, my Fagan?
Yeah, he's
Have
good.
you seen Axel at any time?
I've seen Axel. He's good. He's still in the space. He's an attorney.
Okay.
Okay.
Send him my regards. I'm sure he
I
doesn't
will.
want to hear from me, but send my regards anyway.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Trust me, he gets that all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't waste no time, with Axel.
Love it. Love it. So speaking of which, okay, Damian, you've been there from the beginning. Okay, we see that. Of course, there was a shakeup, a change. Okay, Chris Alexander exiting, then bringing on someone new. But then that person no longer there. Damian, what's going on?
Oh man, so much. But you're seeing a disconnect, I think, between the scale of the challenge and the resources given to the agency. So what I was saying before, New York State generated $2 billion in legal sales. We're talking about 1,200 at this point operational small businesses and an agency of 200 people, 230 people who are tasked with enforcing all the rules and enforcing against the illicit market, regulating the legal market, issuing new licenses, coming up with new rules. I think that from the outside it looks like chaos, but I go back to being on the inside, and it's just a matter of resources. Like there are teams in there that just don't have enough people to accomplish the things they need to. And I think in the case of what happened to the last executive director, I don't know the particulars of the investigation that was shut down, and the reason for their dismissal, because it wasn't just executive director. There was also lead investigator James Rogers, who was investigating a licensee in Long Island who had allegedly violated some of the inversion rules, which is a widespread issue across the supply chain. Like there's a lot of illicit products still sneaking into the New York State legal supply chain from California, from Oklahoma, from Maine and Michigan. But that investigation, if there were flaws to it, I can almost guarantee that it was because there wasn't enough investigators on the investigation itself. So I think that for what people might see as mistakes or errors on the outside is really just a matter of institutional strength and so until the state really commits to investing in the agency and the oversight of the industry, you're going to keep running into issues. It doesn't matter who you put in charge of the agency. If they're not properly staffed, they're going to run into issues. And so that's in my eyes one of the biggest challenges. I think at the end of the day, no one's ever legalized cannabis in the way New York has.
Wow.
So
you're saying that we're actually setting the standard, the bar of how it should be.
Yeah, we are. And I think that, having now been on the outside and working on Virginia's legalization bill with legislators down there, every state progressively moves the line forward towards more equitable, sustainable markets.
Right.
New York radically pushed the line forward, but it's not perfect. And so there's 1,000 things that could be done differently and improved upon and into the future. And so that's kind of the goal here. New York was just supposed to really push forward what was possible. But I think that from the state's perspective, like what's possible, there's no other example to learn from. There's no model to follow. So they are kind of figuring this out in real time. And that's why you're seeing so much push and pull.
Gotcha. And certainly, Joe, the state was the first one on the scene in New York. But then we had the city come in there. Excuse me. NightWatchman.
Yeah. Okay. So the city came in with under the small business services. Tell us a little bit about that, Joe. That interaction is started under Eric Adams. And I think you guys had some successes, but ultimately it's trying to find a way how to dovetail in under OCM, because OCM still made all the major decisions. But I think that you guys did a great job of facilitating things for the businesses in the 5 boroughs. So Joe, maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
For sure. Yeah, definitely with my time with Cannabis NYC, it was an initiative rooted in technical assistance from our state fellows at the Office of Cannabis Management. I really felt with my time with Cannabis NYC, it really showed maybe about 1/5 of the market, just because the city, it lacks a lot of land or necessary facilities to kind of help out that other side of the market. And the insight that I was getting from a lot of retailers was, you know, there was a fundamental disconnect from those farmers and those processors and brands, and really helping being strategic partners for the retailers. So I really wanted to get to the root of the problem. Cannabis NYC has been a great platform, and it still is available for a lot of licensed stores opening up in the 5 boroughs. Yet, similar to what Damian said, New York is kind of setting the benchmark for regulatory compliance and how to roll out equitable market. So even for the work that I've done in New York City, I had people from municipalities in Illinois and Michigan and Maryland reach out because they want to know what New York's doing correctly. When we talk about social equity and people that look like us, we are setting pretty much the standard, for Black and brown businesses in cannabis to be profitable. But yet, similar to what Damien said, with an overarching agency that is under resourced, and with stores opening up rapidly by the month, some stores fall between the cracks. So I just knew, although I love Harlem, I'm originally from Harlem, and we have so many stores that are growing there and opening, we had to take the show on the road.
Absolutely. Gotcha. Well, one of the things also, and Omar, help me understand. So I certainly know about franchising, right? Is there that ability with a dispensary, a cannabis dispensary? Is Gotham Buds looking to expand and grow?
Well, obviously, Gotham Buds is happy to expand and grow. Like any other new entity, you would love to expand and grow. We do understand that New York has posed some limitations in growth and expansion. It sort of means you have to entangle yourself in risky ways because of the types of licenses that are out there for partnership. So obviously there are some licenses that impose certain limitations on the licensee and anyone who partners with them. So we've been candid due to experience, but nonetheless, yes, we've looked at other states also. We've been in negotiations with Atlantic City. We have great relationships with the mayor there. So we've definitely been scoping potential other places where Gotham buds could exist and could thrive.
Gotcha. Beautiful, beautiful. And Danny, so now, what are the challenges? Certainly, I've heard from Damian, Joe Green, and even Omar. I know you'll say the same thing. Has been access to capital, especially being that you have this particular product that is not, of course, federally regulated or allowed. Go ahead.
The issues out here are still ongoing as far as the enforcement of the black market. It still exists out there, and in combining the sheriff's people and OCM's enforcement people and the precinct commanders of those areas that have the black market still in play, it's still prevalent out there, and that's giving a hard way to go to the legal places. I mean, I was up in the 4-1 area. I was watching an operation with the sheriff and the 4-1 in going after people who were selling black market. Young kids were selling right outside the legal market. I mean, the legal store, and there was no enforcement. So we came up with the enforcement part of it in moving these different chess pieces that we have to go after the black market. It's still prevalent out there.
Wow.
I mean, it's coming to a point where it's going to give you guys a hard way to go, because law enforcement, the way they conduct business is that they go after it full throttle for a couple of months, and all of a sudden they just subside. I think every precinct commander needs to be aware that, where you have a legal store there, you need to give it special attention, because the people outside the store are not just gathering, they're selling.
Wow. Gotcha. Absolutely. NightWatchman, what you got, man?
I wanted to ask you guys, and particularly Damian, about some of the things that were in MRTA that we still haven't seen, like consumption lounges. Is that something that's still happening? And we also haven't seen much in terms of the way of home growing.
So I'll start with consumption lounges. When I was there, we were working on the reg for consumption lounges. Consumption lounges aren't coming anytime soon. I don't think anyone should be planning their businesses around consumption lounges, and that is primarily because of public health requirements. And in order for consumption lounges to, us to create a legal pathway to a regulated consumption lounge in New York City, you have to get the Department of Health of New York City to sign off on that. The same Department of Health that has just, been successfully instituted and defended the No Smoking Inside, Act of 30 years ago. It took them forever to get cigarette smoke outside of restaurants, bars, and indoor areas, and they're not excited about the prospect of bringing back indoor smoking. And so that's the first challenge. The first challenge is just getting public health regulators and officials to agree to it. The second challenge is the economics of an on-site consumption business. If you go to a bar or restaurant in New York, obviously they're selling alcohol, but they're also selling food, entry fees. They have overpriced drinks. It takes martini, but the alcohol model for consumption, on-site consumption, has been tested and iterated over 100 years. There isn't really a model that is shown to be financially sustainable where people come in and consume cannabis. You might get someone who smokes half a joint and passes out in your store for 3 hours, and they won't buy anything else.
They buy food.
And so there you go. That is what we believe is the only way to do on-site consumption in New York, is to integrate it into the food and beverage industry. If they can sell food, and if it's a restaurant and they're selling special food and they have prices that can meet those costs, that's the only way it works. Because now you're talking about a cannabis license, a food and beverage license. And so it just gets very messy and complicated. And so I do think we're many years away from seeing it realized in New York State.
And Damian, so one of my guys, of course, is Vladimir Batista, and we're talking about a happy monkey. So, and his was the consumption lounge. So you say that he's still on the outside waiting for something to free up there, huh?
Well, I know Vlad well, and I know I was at his consumption lounge back before legalization, and the legacy market in New York City really pioneered the on-site consumption model. Like they had lounges hidden throughout the city that sold cannabis, but also created spaces for people to like share cannabis and consume cannabis. That's a model that I hope survives the transition to legal, but today, like when you're talking about smoking indoors, it's not just about the health of people who are deciding to go into that space, but the people who work there. So if you work at an on-site consumption lounge, we don't know the research, the studies around the consequences of secondhand cannabis smoke in a consumption lounge for workers. And until you really understand that science and the potential for harm, it is a very contested space to roll out.
Gotcha. And certainly Joe Green, I mean, on the city side, what are you hearing, especially now with this new administration? Are they looking at some of those issues?
Well, yeah. In my time, when cannabis became legal, one thing that I tell people a lot that we had to look at was the legalization of gambling in casinos. And, in just my time of living outside of New York, when I have gone to casinos, typically they don't have the same regulatory framework as to what Damian mentioned, where the Clean Indoor Air Act, which prohibits any type of smoking indoors. But typically when I go to a casino, they have rooms where you could consume cigars, you could.
Yes.
One thing to like kind of mirror what Damian said, I don't see on-site consumption happening here in the 5 boroughs anytime soon, just because from a profitability standpoint, somebody can potentially be smoking and then it's a hole in your couch or it's a fire hazard. And just for the anticipated overhead, it doesn't make viable sense. But yet there has to be, certain rooms for people to congregate, and it's a peaked interest. While cannabis sales are going up, subsequently we see alcohol and food sales going down. So, in my consultancy, a lot of who I do deal with are, those who are in food and alcohol, those are who are in the arts, and trying to find creative ways that are compliant where they can integrate cannabis into their existing activations and help destigmatize the plant. So it's still something to be done over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. But I'm confident that New York is kind of setting the framework for it, because we're one of the only municipalities in the world where, people could just walk from retail store to retail store without a car. And, with consumption, you have those risks of people driving and consuming,
yes. Wow. And Omar, I'm thinking of you, man. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking to myself what Joe just said. Imagine, you have your couches, they're lighting up and whatnot. Suddenly you got a hole in your daggone couch. That's what
irresponsible smoking. Irresponsible smoking. That's a problem.
Like
irresponsible smoking.
Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. Who's smoking cools on my couch?
Oh my God! Yeah. And Omar, I'm thinking about the fact that so somebody goes to, let's say, Starbucks, and they nurse that one cup of coffee because they have internet connection, like 5 hours, man. Like, is that one of the risks that you could see? Somebody with
go ahead. Full transparency.
Yep.
We made modifications to our space to make sure it wouldn't become a hangout, like the awning out front. We wanted no loitering. We wanted the community board to love and appreciate what we were doing, not to look at us like another risque location opening on 125th.
So, gotcha.
Luckily, we've had no incidents. We've had no 311 calls, no 911 calls. We've been able to police the folks we have to deal with ourselves in a respectful, professional manner, of course, through education. So we haven't had any real incidents to declare. But the fact of the matter is that we project to avoid loitering and hanging out to the T. So,
gotcha. And I'll just put this out there: you don't have to answer, but a better relationship with, let's say, the 125th Street bid?
I don't think I could have a better relationship right now.
Nice, very, very nice. Okay.
Well,
Well,
that's
at the
come
end
a
of the
long
day,
way.
at the end of the day, the vote made the decision. The community decided whether the bid should support us or not. And I guess just last year, I think just CB10, that district got around $300,000 just from Gotham buds and tax dollars.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So
that can definitely change hearts and minds.
So if I'm not causing you problems and I'm bringing you tax dollars, and why not like me? Is the question.
Right.
May I interject on the bid? So
Yes.
I have some insight. Ironically, the bid wasn't the biggest proponent of Gotham Bud's opening, but in a weird taste of irony, a dispensary is actually set to open right below the bid at 362 West 125th Street.
Get the heck out of here. Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
So, we just had a new gym open up there, and subsequently a dispensary should be opening up right next to it, 125th between St. Nick and Morningside. Obviously, the folks at Gotham Buds have pioneered, what cannabis looks like on 125th Street and responsible usage from a retail perspective. So I'm assuming the great folks at the bid had the oversight because this dispensary would be right below their office.
Wow. NightWatchman, did you know that?
Of course not. That's why we have the show.
Good one. Daddy, what you got for us, man?
I got news. No. I'm always into the public safety and enforcement things. But that's where I originally come out of. Former trooper, doing what I do. Black and brown, I represent the blacks in law enforcement, the Grand Council Guardians, and the National Latino. So I kind of like bust both ways.
Gotcha.
I mean, our enforcement people out there, it ain't like it was 20 years ago where cops was just rolling up on people, cannabis, throwing them against the gates and taking everything out of their pockets, some of them going into their pockets. So, a lot has changed. The professionals in law enforcement have, accepted the reality of it. It's the Irish and the Italians. We're not going for that because that leads to drugs and hard drugs and hashish and all this other crap. So yeah, it's been a lot more easier to over the last decade as the cannabis thing started to transition into everyday life. Yeah, they got used to it. And we're no longer having issues with our enforcement people.
Gotcha. And one of the things, Danny, so certainly when, let's say, the hotel opened up on 125th Street, across the street from Gotham Buds, and there was a convenience store to the left of the entrance there that, of course, had illegal cannabis. Exactly. So now it took a while in terms of the enforcement, but finally it happened. How did that come about?
Well, I mean, every precinct has to have their sector cars that are roaming around, identify where the black markets are, so we can start enforcing. So it's all about the idea of people, that are out there that know there's a black market there. To kind of like let the people on patrol and let them know so they can take action. So you have that. Like I said, I keep going to the 4-1 and on Simpson Avenue and in that area and Intervale and all these other places. And then when you get right there on Hunts Point itself, where all the stores are at, they're out there. I mean, they're out there, and there's only so much the PD guys can do unless they create the old, the joint task force between OCM, the NYPD, and state police and DEC, and Department of Environmental Conservation cops that go out there and they're all. I mean, the enforcement part of it is lack. When it started up, it was great. everybody was getting their ass kicked every time they opened up near a legal establishment. But now I don't know what this administration is going to do. You know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have no idea.
That's good. Well, Night Watchman, I saw that you were about to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to go back. I'd asked Damian before to also talk about home growing, which is something that seems to also be caught in the queue somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, homegrown's legal. Homegrown was the first thing that got legal. I think the law said that within 12 months of the first dispensary opening up, or first legal sale, that home grow would officially be legal. So home grow has been legal for about 2.5 years now. You can grow up to 6 plants per household. 12 if it's like a family. So it's 6 per person per year. There's no real registration. You don't need a license or anything. It's just a legal thing. It's like craft breweries. Like you can brew beer if you want it. You have to order all the ingredients online. So yeah, New Yorkers are authorized to be doing that, and they are doing that. I mean, what people assumed when we first proposed home grow in the MRTA was that this was going to undermine the legal market. But survey after survey from states with home grow show that less than 1% of consumers end up growing cannabis plants. As someone who is
because it's hard,
it's very hard. And beyond that, it's very hard to grow something you're going to want to smoke. If it's down the street and it costs $30 an eighth, why are you spending hundreds of dollars and stinking up your apartment to grow weed? It's not easy to do.
Yeah. Oh, yo, you got to go further with that, Joe. Do tell, man. Come on, man.
Well, yeah, to kind of piggyback off what Damian said. When I lived in Northern California in 2018, I was in Sacramento when the program went legal out there. Home grow was a thing. People did gift cannabis, but it didn't inherently affect sales as much. The value proposition to legal dispensaries and shops are the unique value of an array of products that how people can consume. People want that variety. People want genetics from different places. So, and even in the city, there's so many inherent barriers with home grow. There's a huge number, especially in Harlem, of housing projects, which are federally housing, and because the plant is still something that's federally illicit.
Right.
We don't encourage home grow in federal buildings or consumption. So, anything we can do to incentivize our shops and incentivize education and responsible use of the plant, that's where our legal shops kind of take precedent,
Gotcha.
I wanted to say about home grow is craft. If you look at craft beer, Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, legalized the production of beer at home, craft brewing in like 1979, and over the course of 2 decades, that's how the craft beer market was created. It was people brewing beer in their garages at home, experimenting. Eventually those beers, that information, that technical knowledge that was developed at the home level, at the home brewing level, translated to an actual $100 billion craft beer market. The same thing applies to home grow. So everyone in New York who wants to experiment with a genetic or a certain way of growing cannabis can do so. Eventually, when there's innovation that happens at that level because it's so accessible, anyone can do it. It might trickle up to the level of production in the legal market. And you might see someone who experimented with genetics in their own home grow situation eventually sell those genetics to a grow that then sells it in a store on 125th Street. That's how the cycle is supposed to go. There's innovation, there's iteration, testing that cycles through the supply chain.
Gotcha.
I think as long as the passion can get you past the trial and error, that's true. Because there's a lot of trial and error in science, as we all know. So I've been growing for 20 years. I can tell you, it's a million ways to mess it up. That's all.
Wow. Gotcha. And Damian, so you mentioned, of course, the caucus weekend, Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus. Now, will there be also discussions about cannabis and equity?
Yeah. The majority leader, Crystal Stokes, she's going to be doing a panel. I'll be participating, as well as a bunch of licensed Black and brown licensees, some other advocates. It'll be a topic of conversation. I think that the focus this session for cannabis is really going to be on who's leading the agency going forward. We have another new interim, executive director from Department of Labor, I believe, and I think that the supply chain, the industry is kind of pining for some experienced leadership, someone who knows the industry, someone who knows cannabis. I do think that throughout the session, we're going to find out if the agency will finally get some new permanent leadership. And then the second thing is, a big focus is the community reinvestment money.
Yes. Go ahead.
The industry has generated over $2 billion in sales, almost $3 billion in sales. And that's translated to a distribution of maybe $5 to $10 million in grants. There's still a lot more money that has been generated for the community reinvestment grant program that's just sitting in Albany right now. And so I think there's a lot of folks who are curious to know when that distribution of funds is going to ramp up and actually start reaching the communities it was intended to.
Beautiful. And Omar, will you be making the trip up to Albany?
I'm actually not that far off. I more recently moved to the Hudson Valley, so I think I think I will be in Albany.
Okay, very nice, very nice. What about you, Joe?
Well, in my span to get out the city, Albany is definitely on my neck of the woods. Similar to Omar, I'm doing a lot of work in the Hudson Valley. I'm actually consulting with SUNY New Paltz and leading their education program. As we've seen that higher education institutions, they want to get a piece of cannabis as well. So, like I said, this show goes on the road. Caucus is definitely on my to-do list, so I may be there.
Yeah, beautiful.
Albany is a great winter vacation destination.
No,
NightWatchman, you just had to get that in there. Now,
well, okay, I'll just say this: I got my bona fides. I was on some of those lobbying trips. I was on the bus to Albany for some of those trips when we were trying to get murder passed. And we were there one day, and we had to leave early because the storm was coming in, and it was cold and it was miserable. But I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing this for the people."
Like, taking one for the team.
Likely to get on the bus. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I guess definitely in terms of that's where all the policies we know now. In terms of what you're doing, Danny. You also make the trip, the pilgrimage up to
Absolutely. I'm there I mean, because like I said, I do represent a lot of Black and brown law enforcement, state police, the NYPD, the sheriffs. So I go up there all the time. I even represent drug treatment programs, that I haven't, So yeah, I make that trip. I get a nice little sidebar over there with the state police. Park my car, go to the garage. I go through the narcotics because I get an escort. I get one trooper who follows me everywhere. So I don't have those issues. Parking and people. No.
Gotcha.
That's how the pros do it.
Yes, indeed. Well, you know what? And I'm thinking about this. Damian. So the Upper East Side, you said a lot of Black and brown dispensaries are on there, right? What about further up in Northern Manhattan? What are you seeing?
The Heights and everything.
I was at Community Board 9 last night, Community Board 9 in Manhattan on 138th Street on the west side. To notify the community board that we're opening the Bronx Cannabis is opening a dispensary up there. So we're opening a dispensary on 138th Street over by Manhattanville in the coming months. Black owned, from East Harlem, native.
Wow.
Been working at the post office for the last 30 years. He's a card licensee. So there's still a lot of opportunity in that area. I'd also like to shout out Roger Thomas at Mellow Time, who's going to be opening up in Inwood in the coming weeks as well. He's also a member of our cohort. I'm seeing a lot more activity in Upper Manhattan with stores coming online. I think the only reason you haven't seen those stores opening up there is because there was so much opportunity in Lower Manhattan, and people really, especially card licensees, wanted to take advantage of the foot traffic and the consumer base in Lower Manhattan, especially with the tourism. But now that those areas are pretty saturated, and I'll say that they are, Lower Manhattan and Midtown, they have enough dispensaries at this point. And but there's still a lot of access and opportunity, I think, in Upper Manhattan.
Gotcha. And Damian, I did see what that our girl Arena Hankin, the Union Square travel agent, that she has also something going on there in BK. Is that correct?
Yeah. Travel agency in Brooklyn, in downtown Brooklyn, is probably the #1 selling dispensary in the state right now.
What?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Got it.
My sister shops there. You know the reason it really is, and I would count. I love my sister, but she is what you would call the commie corridor transplant. Like, we are the highly educated, high income earning folks who moved to Williamsburg. And
Yep.
She's been there like 10 years now, but she frequents when she and her husband go to buy cannabis, they go to travel agency in downtown Brooklyn. And that's because they were the first ones to open in downtown Brooklyn. And so a lot of those consumers in that part of Brooklyn got very used to shopping there and buying their cannabis there on the getting off and on the subway. And yeah, I think that is, one of those dispensaries that is doing upwards of, over $50 million in revenue.
Wow. NightWatchman, you hear those numbers, man?
No, it's good. That's what was supposed to happen, and that's why I kind of started with Damian asking him the overview. And the other thing, which we haven't talked about, but what MRTA did achieve, is keeping the industry from being dominated by large outside forces, and that has continued to be the case with all the bumps and bruises and twists along the way. We haven't had that happen like it's happened in other states. So I think New Yorkers should be proud of what's happened so far and supportive of making it better.
And well, NightWatchman, are you telling me that Big Pharma has given up their hopes of coming into the market, or what? What are you
first
saying?
of all, let's separate. Big Pharma is not in the there's Big Cannabis, and then there's Big Pharma. Big Pharma's game is going to be a whole nother one, because it really depends on what happens on the federal level with this rescheduling. It may tilt in their favor, and they have the resources to make things tilt in their favor. So, but we're talking about Big Cannabis that has been operating in other states and dominate a lot of other states' programs. I'll ask Damian to talk more about that than I know, but I mean, I know that there are states like Chicago and even New Jersey where there's more of an influence from big companies than there is here in New York.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of sequencing. It's like, who gets to go first and under what conditions. And so in Illinois, for example, I work at Parabola Center, which is a cannabis policy think tank in Massachusetts, and we're right now doing a report on Illinois' market. So Illinois' market is about 7 years old. 70% of all of the market, the revenue, is earned by 4 companies.
Right. Wow.
GTI, Ascend, Cresco, and one other I'm blanking on. But they were the medical operators. Yeah, GTI,
in New York.
Cresco are the ones that I know of right now, but they were the medical operators there. They had 200,000 square foot grows. So they had super Walmart size grows. Right. And then when they went to adult use, those guys went first. And when you turn on, 500,000 square feet of canopy for an indoor grow for like 4 companies, there's not really a lot of space for other growers to like get into the market. Wow. So years after legalization in Illinois, those guys still control 70% of what's sold in the state of Illinois. There are social equity dispensaries in Illinois. There's half of the 500 dispensaries in Illinois are owned by social equity, but they are just outlets for corporate cannabis to sell their product. And that's the difference in New York. In New York, we said the hemp farmers go first. We said card go first. And today, when you look at the market, the biggest producers are from the hemp program, and the biggest retailers are from the card program. That's travel agency, that's Heirloom, and so that's the difference, is that we prioritize New Yorkers before we prioritize shareholders. And ultimately, differences.
Let me
And
ask you
to
this, Damian, because I also remember that some of those big Chicago companies, at least one or two of them, were trying to build big grows here in New York, but
Yeah.
probably I don't know if those projects stalled because they don't really have the
Oh no, they
the
didn't stall. They
throughput.
were never going to happen. And so there are some big roads that the project started after the MRTA, and they've been built out. There's one in Western New York that is being operated by Etane and the company that bought Etane.
But Etane, yeah.
But a lot of that, and I remember those press releases too. The MRTA gets signed, and then all of a sudden you start seeing all these news reports of some big company building a grow in Long Island. That is PR. That is intended to scare off competition. They're doing the same thing in Virginia. So as Virginia is debating legalization, there are PR statements of companies saying that we're going to hire 1,000 people in this part of Virginia. We're going to build this much grow space. That is intended to shape the conversation in state capitals to make it seem like there's an inevitability to their entry to the market. We're coming. We're going to build millions of dollars worth of facilities and blah, blah, blah. And there's not even a shovel in the ground yet. It's just. I can write a plan as well that I'm going to build 100,000 square feet in Hudson Valley of an indoor grow and send it off to reporters and hope that they report it. Then everyone here will talk about it, and everyone will be like, I guess I'm not doing a grow if they're going to build 100,000 foot. So that's kind of the intended effect of that. And that's why a lot of those facilities never got built.
Gotcha.
Right.
And Omar, I saw you grimacing for a minute. Do tell your thoughts, man.
Well, I really do appreciate what New York did as far as keeping out the folks that were already billionaires. I love the little guy getting an opportunity. I love how many small businesses were born from this and are thriving from this. So I know a lot of people believe getting a license was like a lottery ticket. It's still work. You still have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You still have to understand your customer base. You still have to strategize appropriately. But I love the opportunities that New York gave the little guy to have a place to work. I do.
Beautiful. Joe, thoughts?
Yeah, to answer Bob's earlier statement, Big Pharma is not here, but I think Big Pharma and Big Cannabis are cousins,
Absolutely.
They're definitely related. To bring it to Harlem, one of these bigger MSOs, as we call them, multi-state operators, Columbia Care, that Damian was mentioning, is based out of Illinois. I'm not sure if you guys read about this, but in 2023, Sean Diddy Combs was now incarcerated in MDC. He was gonna purchase Columbia Care and Cresco Labs for 185 million. And his intent was to really build a Black-owned brand or, some type of cultivation for Black-owned brands. Obviously, with Sean Combs' situation, that deal inevitably fell through. But it's really to kind of stopgap that, knowing that these larger, overly resourced multi-state operators are kind of coming in, and for struggling retailers that don't have necessarily the capital to get started, they can offer in product at astronomically low prices that are good for margins for retailers, which now inevitably undercuts that small craft grower, who has inherently
Right.
more overhead, isn't producing quite as much, but has to sell in at a premium price point to keep their lights on. So it's still something that is still prevalent, for a lot of these struggling retailers or struggling grows, who are barely profitable, barely keeping their lights on. A lot of these multi-state operators are just kind of lurking in the shadows, just waiting to buy these licenses for pennies on the dollar. So, any way we can incubate these retailers, these supply chain licensees in real time and help them, keep their license, help them bootstrap and give them resources where an invoice isn't necessarily attached to it. It's really pushing the industry forward.
Beautiful. All right. Night Watchman. I'm looking at the time, and you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking lightning round. That's what I'm thinking.
Let's go, Thor. Bring the lightning.
Wow. You just had to do it. So having said that, I'll start with Danny. Okay.
No, don't start with me. Start with somebody else.
Okay, then I'm going with you. So I want some final thoughts, all right? But also someone wants to get in touch with you. How can they do that, Danny? You tell us.
Just call me at 646-920-4150. I'm transparent.
Well,
I
hold it, Daddy.
I
Slow
just
down.
give it the way I know it.
Say that slowly. One more time. Go.
646-920-4150.
Beautiful. And the name of the organization is?
New York State Cannabis Association of Minority Women Professionals.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that.
You got it.
And Damian, this is just harkening back to one other thing, because I'm curious. Because you were a grower upstate of hemp. Have a number of folks who are now in the cannabis space. Did they start out as hemp growers first?
Yeah, people I've known all over the state from the hemp program. You know, I was all over upstate New York from 2020, 18 to 2021, growing hemp. So I knew a lot of the farmers when I joined OCM, and a lot of those guys have multi-million-dollar businesses now with hundreds of staff. And so there's dozens of hemp farmers. There's dozens of hemp farmers that have not succeeded at transitioning to the adult use market too. I will be fair to them and say that it hasn't worked out for everyone, but it is a competitive market. And those hemp growers that had the most technical resources and kind of were in the best position to take advantage of this opportunity, they have scaled their operations. They have built huge grows upstate, and they employ hundreds of people. So yeah, the hemp program is transitioned. It's very much in the adult use market. I would say the majority of the product sold in New York State right now is being sold by New York State hemp farmers and producers.
Beautiful. And also, Damian, because you're out there in BX.
Wasn't this supposed to be the lightning round? Well,
Okay. I want to know.
You can ask 5 more questions. Come on.
No.
We got to get out of here.
How does one get in touch with you? And do tell us. How does one get in touch with you? Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so you can go to either BronxDefenders.org or BronxCannabisHub.org, and my contact and our contact will be up there. But my email is dfagon, DFAGON at BronxDefenders.org. We run an incubator in the Bronx for card justice impacted New Yorkers to open their businesses. But yeah, I'm available. I help a lot of folks figure this industry out. I don't charge. So I work for a nonprofit.
Wow. Gotcha, brother. All right. Thank you for that. Joe Green, I'm coming to you, buddy. Do tell. Final thoughts.
Yeah, the running joke is, Damian and I are fairly tall fellows, over 6'6", and we've been in the market just in the shadow. So a lot of what Damian does, I do as well. Damian's holding down at the Bronx Cannabis Hub. I try to be as local and around the state as possible. My consultancy is called Uptown Green Report, play on my last name and a place of where I'm from. You can reach me at uptowngreenreport.com or J-O at uptowngreenreport.com. And I just try to really help out licensees that don't have the necessary capital and keep doing the good work. So
beautiful. Thank you for that, Joe. Absolutely. And Omar, man, you gotta have the last word. And I also noticed that you didn't get rattled knowing that there's another dispensary going to be opening up. So you tell us, Omar.
Well, respectfully, we were told we would be the only entity on 120. I'm not going to lie about that because some of the folks that voiced that are on this call. No need to mention names. But I will say no one in New York, no dispensary has more relationships with people with recognition than Gotham Bud. So you're going to have to strap those boots tight. Because 2026 is an aggressive year for Gotham's plan. So we wish everyone success.
Yes.
But next to me is going to be a problem.
Love it. All right.
You do deliveries, right?
Absolutely. We already kicked our deliveries in gear. It's all set. It started this past week. So, beautiful. Yeah, you're going to have to lace them up real tight if you run it with Gotham Buzz. It's word on the street.
Gotcha.
You go, Omar.
Yes. NightWatchman, take us home.
So, lightning in the dictionary. We're gonna.
Oh wow!
He came back with clarification on what lightning means.
I know.
You can listen to this Soul Lounge Prime Time on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, in our 40th anniversary year.
Yes.
Also live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. we want to thank these gentlemen not only for sharing their experiences, but for the work they're doing. We talked about the arc of how things have developed in New York, and it's a lot of people have put their shoulder to the wheel, so to speak.
Yes.
And these are representative samples. So thank you for everything you've done. And yes, you are invited back